President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks to lead U.S. public health agencies are raising major red flags for their contrarian, anti-science views on medicine and health care. This week, Trump announced his nominee to lead the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who criticized pandemic lockdowns and said COVID-19 should spread unchecked through the population to establish herd immunity. Never mind the hundreds of thousands of additional people who could have died from this approach. Dr. Mehmet Oz, Trump's choice to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, is notorious for promoting the anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine, a discredited treatment for COVID. And a Health and Human Services pick, RFK Jr. as secretary, who has no medical training, has long promoted fringe conspiracy theories about childhood vaccines. On Friday, former Trump FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb had a dire warning for the future of health in this country should RFK Jr. get confirmed.
I think if RFK follows through on his intentions, and I believe he will, and I believe he can, it will cost lives in this country. You're going to see measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination rates go down. And like I said, if we lose another 5%, which could happen in the next year or two, we will see large measles outbreaks.
Joining me now is Dr. Josh Green, the governor of Hawaii. Governor Green, thank you very much. I think you've been on the show before. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. So you have a personal experience having dealt with RFK Jr.'s misinformation when it comes to childhood vaccines. What exactly is it?
Well, in 2019, not long ago, it's almost exactly 5 years, we were in Samoa at the invitation of the Prime Minister. This was in the aftermath of RFK Jr. going through that country and discouraging its people, scaring them from being vaccinated. So we ended up being called into action, a team of 75 of us. I was lieutenant governor at the time and a practicing physician and ER doc. We were called into action to go and vaccinate the entire country. 83 children had just died, and over 5,000 cases of measles that we diagnosed had been spread through the country. It was a disaster, and it was caused in large part by RFK Jr. So he is a terrible pick for HHS secretary. And if he does become our lead health official in the country, you're going to see outbreaks like this in rural communities and cities across America. Children will die or have severe disability. So I had that firsthand experience, and it was tragic.
So as HHS Secretary, RFK Jr., if confirmed, could he act as quickly as a lot of people fear in terms of standing in the way of vaccinations?
Absolutely. Someone of that magnitude, that position is extremely powerful. All they have to do is just cast a little bit of doubt on the system, and they will influence all sorts of bad decisions. In truth, the Trump presidency will be predicated on bombastic comments, and he's putting in people that will do that in every different discipline. But in this case, I could say as a physician, we can't afford it. If you get down to a threshold below which we don't have herd immunity, you'll see measles spread all over. 150 million children have been saved over the last 50 years from completely preventable diseases because of vaccinations. And we reach the tipping point all the time. In my state, in Hawaii, in the rural areas, there already is some vaccine hesitancy. And if you just make it a little worse because someone who's good looking and who can use that bully pulpit to cast doubt goes and does it, we're finished. So you're going to see terrible outbreaks of measles, mumps, rubella, meningitis. God forbid we have another pandemic. The bird flu is out there. And
I was about to ask you about that.
Yes. So we worry about all these things, but he could doom us. And so, look, I understand politics as it is. Mr. Trump has won a second term, but that does not mean he can jeopardize our children's safety. And that's a great concern. They should pull this pick back right now and leave the politics to some of the other disciplines.
So I'm glad you brought up the avian flu H5N1, which is now has jumped species and raging out of control in California amongst cattle populations in California. RFK Jr. has advocated that people should consume raw milk, which can carry high levels of H5N1 and is considered a possible vector for its transmission. He is already on record as saying he wouldn't prioritize research or vaccine distribution. Is there anything you could do as a governor to either stop what he's doing or do things that would be in contravention, if I'm using the right word, to the things he could possibly do as secretary?
Yeah, we all have our own departments of health and we bolster them. We've already begun to prepare for more vaccinations across the state, not less. And we would continue to make sure our milk was properly pasteurized. But, you know, someone at that level, at the top of government, can do one heck of a lot of damage. And it's really horrible that we're playing political games with these positions. You know, the president has put in kind of a cast of demons for the Department of Health. Dr. Oz is a TV personality who was peddling treatments that don't really work on diseases. The same thing can be said of his Surgeon General. This is a joke to them. They are just being disruptive, but these are people's lives. And I saw that firsthand. You know, if people get milk that's contaminated, remember, there are a lot of people out there that don't have a full complement of immune responses. They may have a disease. They may be on cancer treatments. There's so many ways that they could be harmed. And let me just please share what we really saw in Samoa. We would go into villages where a baby had just died. The baby was still warm. And we would then have a funeral service for the child and then vaccinate his or her 6 or 7 other siblings and move on to another village where we'd see the same thing. A baby had just passed away again. This is very real. This is not a joke. This is not some kind of reality TV show for Trump and Kennedy. This is our children's lives. This was an international health crisis that I had to jump in on because I was pretty close as the lieutenant governor of Hawaii. But we will not be able to prevent large outbreaks if they behave the way they're describing. So I would ask the president to pull back on this pick and put Mr. Kennedy in some environmental position, which is what he likes. Frankly, we'll be doing Trump a big favor because Kennedy is a pretty wild leftist, and he has a lot of different ideas that have already been debunked, but they have tended to be on the left flank of everyone. And frankly, when Mr. Trump realizes the mayhem that this gentleman will cause, he'll fire him anyway, but not before he has cast doubt on our vaccination programs, not before tens of thousands of children get very preventable diseases. And can you imagine these last 50 years, if 100 million parents had to bury their children because we didn't have vaccines? That's the risk that we take when someone dispels confidence in our healthcare system. And that's exactly what he will do if this gentleman's confirmed.
Wow, Dr. Josh Green, governor of Hawaii, you've given us a lot to think about and thrown up a lot of red flags that we should pay attention to. Thank you very much for coming to the Saturday show.